Glendale Commission on the Status of Women. Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Burns.
Present.
Commissioner Devine.
Here.
Commissioner Kajayan.
Present.
Ex officio Mirsahanian.
Present.
Ex officio Sahakian.
Present.
Commissioner Wiseman.
Present.
Chair Miller.
Here. Thank you, Ms. Hidalgo. Next item on the agenda, please.
At 1A, we have report regarding the posting of the agenda. The agenda for the October 14, 2013 meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside of City Hall on or before October 11, 2013. Item 2, introductions and presentations. A, domestic violence awareness. Ani Tarosian, Chairman of the Board of Datev Outreach, and Father Vasken Movsesian, Board Member of Datev Outreach.
Thank you, Ms. Hidalgo. Good evening. Commissioners, we have today with us Father Vasken Movsesian. Father Movsesian is an Armenian Orthodox priest whose ministry is centered at St. Peter Church in Glendale, California. For the last 30-plus years, he has successfully served the immigrant communities throughout California and has created communities and support systems that pass the love of God to those hurting from injustices. He is the director of the In His Shoes Ministries, the founder of ePostal.net, and a board member for Datev Outreach. He teaches young and old a message of Christian hope and charity, which is dependent on a respect for the United States and its vision for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Father Vasken was born and raised in Los Angeles and is a graduate of the University of Southern California with degrees in social ethics and psychology. He studied abroad at the Monastery of Holy Etzmiachin in Armenia. Ani Tarosian was raised in San Jose, California, but has been a resident of Southern California for the past 13 years. She graduated from USC with a Bachelor's of Science in Biomedical and Electrical Engineering in 2004 and has been involved in the medical industry ever since. With a strong passion for community service and helping others in need, she has always been involved in nonprofit organizations, the Armenian Community, and the Armenian Church. As chairwoman of the board for Datev Outreach, she is proud to represent an organization which has already helped so many individuals and families despite its young age. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone.
Slides, I think. I want to thank you for having us this afternoon and sharing with you our vision for Datev Outreach. It's a new organization that came out a couple of years ago. It is a faith-based in that we challenge violence with the one solution that there is universal, is the power of love. And so that's what we're about. Datev Outreach was, you can go, do we have control of the slides? No. Datev Outreach was started a few years ago, but it began with the In His Shoes mission. I've been serving here in Glendale for the past 10 years at the St. Peter Armenian Church. It is a youth ministry center. It has hundreds of youth that are participating. It resides exactly across the street from the cluster of schools, Hoover, Keppel, and Toll. And so 10 years ago, a group of young people came together and said, let us create a new vision for being Armenian. Rather than complaining about the genocide, let's answer the genocide. And they contemplated through a retreat and came up with this solution of In His Shoes. The only way to answer violence is through the power of love, as we are instructed as Christians. And so it's putting our feet in the shoes of others. And over the past 10 years, this group has been able to really make some big strides. We do regular feeds at Essentia here in Glendale. We take care of the local needs, such as those on Skid Row, and we do global things. We've helped many communities in Africa, collecting over $500,000, all on youth between the ages of 15 through 20. Datev Outreach began out of that In His Shoes movement, saying that let's see what some of the issues are here in the community. And unfortunately, as a priest, I was privy to many of the women who were coming and complaining about domestic violence. And so 2-3 years ago, we came up with the idea that we need to, as a church, have a stand. Can we use the same philosophy of walking in the shoes of others, combating evil with love, as a premise to take care of this very, very difficult and ugly condition? So our mission is to reach out our arms, embrace and provide supportive services to families and children affected by domestic violence, But we do have a vision that is a little bit longer term, and that is to empower the individuals. Because right now we are dealing with those individuals. How do we empower them? It's not enough to just identify, but let those women have the resources, let them have the education and the means to be able to successfully turn from victim to victor. And we believe that that's possible through love.
So just to reintroduce myself, I'm Ani Tarosian, chairwoman of the board for DATEV Outreach, and some of the questions we get when we're doing our community outreach is, what does DATEV actually mean? Maybe to people of Armenian heritage, they might know, and sometimes they don't, but DATEV literally translates to give wings, and this really ties in perfectly with what our organization is trying to achieve, because we are not just trying to remedy the situation for that moment, but we want to actually give wings to these people and let them grow to the capacity that they can. And there's also a historical point that we bring up with DATEV. There was a DATEV monastery in Armenia, which was actually a refuge, and this is maybe over 1,000 years ago, a refuge for women at the time. So there is a historical implication with our namesake, DATEV. So we do pledge to guide individuals from victim to victor, and we'll get into how we do that in some future slides with some empowerment programs that we're offering, which enables these individuals to actually grow and prosper.
As a priest, I had many women who were coming and talking about domestic violence. We had called police. We had taken restraining orders. I wanted to find out, was that isolated? And so when we began DATEV Outreach, our first few months was just spent on research. Alarmingly, we found out from the DA's office that they are prosecuting 2 families, 2 men, every day from the Armenian. That's epidemic. And that is not only, even to me as a priest, 1 is too much. And so when you've got a scale of that, of 10 people every week from our community, that's epidemic. And so it is very real in the Armenian community, and just like it is in every other community. Sometimes when I say this, people turn to me and say, well, it's in every, yes, it is. But as an Armenian priest, to me, here's my community, and it's hurting. We have women who are hurting. We have women who need this attention as well as their families. Domestic violence is just as taboo as it is in any other community. People don't talk about it. The cases that we're seeing right now, still we go through the same issues that are common in all communities, namely that women do not want to have this publicized. The church offers this protective umbrella. That's the one unique thing about our church, is that because the church has been for the last 2,000 years, the church of the Armenian people has given the direction. People feel comfortable coming to the church rather than anywhere else. When they walk into church, they understand sanctuary. And for us, this was important, that those young families that were coming here understood that here they were safe. I grew up in the Vietnam era. I know the meaning of sanctuary. When someone walks into that church, that is sacred ground. And so when they walk in there, they are safe from everybody. And we do protect these women. And we offer the one language, because this is where we get into it. Not about Armenian, it's not about English, Spanish, it's about talking love. And you'd be surprised how incredible this language has been working for us, because we've got a team of women who are just out there, first responders, and all of them are from different areas. Some of them do not even speak Armenian, some of them do not speak English, and yet everyone is united.
I just wanted to go through exactly what programs and services we offer at DATEV Outreach. So what we directly offer through the organization are what we call the empowerment programs, and truly that's what it is. We're trying to empower women so that they can have the confidence and the skill set to not only move forward from their current situation, but to grow. We have a computer literacy course, and in fact I teach that course, and it's just awesome. We teach these women the basics of computing, anywhere from learning how to use the keyboard, and then they grow through the 8 to 10 week course on different skill sets of like how to send an email or how to use a word processor, how to write a resume, and then they graduate from the course and then they can move on from that point. We also have financial independence courses. So some of these women were actually abused by their husbands because they weren't able to access the finances, and that's a big part of household living. So when these women come out of these situations, we need to give them the skill sets on how to manage the home budget, how to plan for the future, if they have children, how to set up a college fund. So these are really key skills that we are empowering women with. Community awareness programs. So we have the annual walk we do during Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which we all know is October. And actually that will be coming up in a future slide to show the flyer for that, but it's on October 24th, and we welcome everyone to join. It's open to the public. We have informational videos posted online. So there's a DATEV Outreach YouTube channel where we talk about different, we have postings of our presentations that we've done in the community, infographic type videos, kind of teaching people different aspects of DATEV outreach. And then we also do these presentations where we invite a professional from various industries, whether it could be like therapy or finances, things like that, and we give community outreach presentations to gather the public and talk about the topic at hand. Other services that we have, we are a referral service as well, so we refer out to trusted shelters, counseling, therapy. We also are starting a foster parenting training support program, which we'll talk about soon, and then also job seeking, whether it's just networking within the community or posting through various sites for these women to find a job and secure funds for their family. And then also the prayer and spiritual support is really important because a lot of these women going through this kind of circumstance feel like they have nobody at all. So the spiritual healing is very important for them to find peace with themselves and know that they made the right decision to actually seek help.
Since the early 70s, the Armenian community here in the Southland has really been traumatized by what's going on in the Middle East. We've had waves of immigrants that have come from Beirut after the war, have come from Iran after the fall of the Shah's regime, and of course after the communism from Armenia. So we've got many hundreds, thousands of new Armenian families that have been created and are being created by their children every year. And they're being created in our churches. I'm very happy to say that one of the main things that DATEV Outreach did was has now received the support of the Archbishop of the largest diocese, which is the Diocese of the Western Diocese, Archbishop Ognan Derderian. Headquarters is in Burbank at the St. Church. He has now issued a statement that it will be mandatory premarital counseling for any couple getting married in the church beginning 2015. Mandatory means that these couples will not be able they will not be able to get married or receive the blessings of the church. We were talking earlier about this is why I made that reference earlier. There are other places they can get married. God bless them, but the church is the main place, and these couples will need to go through mandatory counseling, which will, it's usually a 6 or 8 week session. We're just now working out the details. At least it's one step in the prevention. I think you were asking earlier. Respect, dignity, equality, growing in love, that's what we are all about.
Foster parenting.
The foster parenting was kind of like a outcome of DATEV Outreach we didn't expect. After we started, we began a 24-hour hotline. It is 1-855-DATEV-77. That is the So we arrived at many of families, and then all of a sudden we started realizing that, wait a minute, it's not just the women that are victims. There are many men who are also victims of these violence. In other words, the alcoholism or the drugs that have come in. But the one victims that we had completely forgotten about were the children. And I think most domestic violence organizations forget that there's children there. We started seeing these children that were being taken off in custody of the government agencies. We found out that there's about approximately 193 exactly Armenian children that are literally stuck in the system here in the county and cannot get out. These are children that are ages 12 and over. The young ones are easy, and that's why I want to give you one example to help me illustrate this. This is one girl that we found in the system. She's 13 years old. She's past that point where she's no longer cute, so not everybody wants to adopt her. But she's got the biggest heart and just a beautiful, beautiful young girl that is being shuffled around from group home to group home. She speaks Armenian. Parents are in jail. Her sister is in jail. Her two younger siblings have been adopted. She is basically alone. She needs an Armenian family. We found out that in all of LA County, there's 2 Armenian families that are able to be foster families. So immediately, Dotted Outreach began to educate the community about foster parenting, how you can be a foster parent. And our object was to start off with this one girl, and I'm very happy to say that just recently, I think as we're speaking right now, the last final things are being done to facilitate an adoption for her. That's really one of the big accomplishments of Dotted Outreach, that we were able to go from that point of domestic violence to actually family services, foster parenting.
So the last point we have on here, the foster program, I mean, it's newly launched, but we do have experience now with the case example that Father Voskin just went through. So what we initially did was immediately had a community presentation where we invited a few social workers to come and speak to the community about how you can actually become a foster family. So basically there's a series of steps that you do need to go through to be approved as a foster family. And a lot of Armenian families that we spoke to, did not know that there were that many Armenian children, quote unquote, stuck in the system, did not know that this was an issue that existed, and then B, didn't realize that there was actually a process you can go through to help and actually become a foster family. So in addition to the presentation that we did, we gathered, information on individuals who are interested in becoming a foster family. We also created a very cool infographic that we posted on YouTube and our website about the general process on how you do become a foster family. So it's a great resource to check out, and if for anyone who's interested can get kind of the guidelines and the steps on how to do that. So we alluded to this a little bit earlier, but we have a walk against domestic violence. This is the 3rd walk that Dotted Outreach is doing. It is scheduled for October 24th, which is next Thursday. We will be meeting at 4 p.m., and all the details are in the flyer posted here. It's open to the public, and anyone can call for more information on our 855 number, which is 855-77, which is 855-328-3877, for those who don't have like the little letters on their phone. And it takes about 2 hours. We walk almost, almost 7 miles. We walk from Glendale to Burbank, and there's a little reception when we get to Burbank. So I really encourage everyone to come out and show the community support of how we're walking against domestic violence. So just once again, thank you to the Commission for allowing us to come speak today. Just some of our information. So there's a lot of ways you can get in touch with Dotted Outreach. There's a lot of ways you can help, too. I know there's a lot of people out there who want to volunteer. So there's our website, our email, and our phone number, and you can always connect with us on social media as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you should have brochures which explain all of this.
Do we have any questions or comments from the Commission? Commissioner Kajoyan.
Thank you, Chair Miller. I would like to thank you for coming today. I visited the outreach site, and I am very impressed with all the work that you do to community and to reach to the people, especially for domestic violence. I wish you success with your coming all projects. In Armenian, we say Kanant Janabar. It means green road with all your work, and I'm going to walk in October 24. Thank you.
Commissioner Devine.
Yes, I have a couple questions. Is your facility open 7 days a week, 5 days a week? Do you have employees there that are running the foundation, and how do you pay for them?
Very good question. So everything that you see, I'm glad you were really impressed with our website, and everything that you see has been done just on volunteer basis, and that speaks a lot. So there's a lot of people that believe in what we're doing, and we're actually moving mountains with the limited funds that we have. So if we had the funding, which, you know, we're trying to secure funding, that's of course the next step. I think we could do a lot more. So we do have an office location at the Burbank Diocese. The Archbishop, he's allowed us to use office space there. So we do have a single office space, and of course with funding we do want to expand that so we can have more of like a 9-to-5 type presence. But the phone line is open. Anytime we get a phone call, it's triaged right on the spot. There's no really like waiting around a week till you get back to it. So it's not to say that we don't have individuals working that are on top of it, but as far as having like a paid staff, we don't have that currently.
And that, excuse me, that 855 number is meant 24/7 in that it is routed to different volunteers, and it does take calls in English, Armenian, and Russian.
And Russian, yeah.
So that's your hotline, basically?
Yes, but there's a live person from 9 to 5. There's a live person, and then anytime there's a voicemail, it's returned within an hour.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so happy that you've established this program. If you're interested, there is a coalition in Glendale. It's called the Safe Family Task Force, and it's made up of organizations and foundations that are interested in this issue and try to work together to make sure that women are safe and families are safe. And if you'd like to take part in that or come to some of the meetings, you can please get in touch with me, and I will I'll let you know when they meet. So it's a wonderful group of people, and you will learn a lot from them. And again, I'm just really pleased you're doing this for your community.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kajoyan?
I was just going to ask you, do you have any shelters for this domestic violence for women coming? A shelter place to...
We have a list of shelters that we refer out to, so we have a relationship with those shelters, but we ourselves don't house a shelter.
Thank you.
As you may know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and this is a very important awareness and advocacy piece that this commission takes up, and we really appreciate you coming here today, joining forces with us with the services that you provide. Everyone up here on the dais is actually wearing a pin that were provided to us by the Glendale Police Department. And on behalf of the Commission, we'd like to ask that you join forces with us and both wear one as well during the month of October.
We agree.
Commissioner Kajoyan's going to come down, and let's have someone
I
on
have a
this.
question. Are you going to be at the Purple Ribbon event on Sunday volunteering? Yes, perfect. Great. Good.
Thank you again for coming during the month of October. We do have a number of events coming up this month, specifically this week, and we look forward to joining forces with you and continuing to raise awareness for both women, their children, and men about domestic violence and its effects. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Can we proceed with? Sure. Thank you, Ms. Can we have the next item on the agenda, please?
Next item is 3 oral comment. I don't have any cards. Item 4, consent items. At A, approval of the minutes of the regular commission meeting held on September 9th, 2013.
Are there any comments or questions regarding the minutes? Okay, then we just need a motion to move forward, to accept the minutes as is. Can we have a motion
I so move.
and a second?
Second.
And seeing that we're all in agreement, we're going to move forward. In moving on to the next item, if we could take our reports only, because our next speaker is here, if we could take our reports only item from item 6 and move that up to right before item 5?
Certainly. Item 6, reports information only at A, needs assessment for community resources for young women coming out of jail or prison.
Can we have a brief report?
Sure. Chair Devine, we have to get with us today Moises Carrillo, who will provide the report for that.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Miller, members of the Commission, staff, Moises Carrillo, Community Services and Parks, Human Services Section. Didn't bring my purple today because I was wearing Dodger blue, but I do have my wristband for this month, my pink band, and I'll be there Thursday, of course, for my purple for the YWCA event. This report is a follow-up to the request by the Commission previously regarding the resources for women incarcerated or previously incarcerated living here in Glendale. As you remember, we did provide a report that identified the services, the agencies that provide the services needed for persons coming out of prison or jail. We researched a little bit more on the numbers and conducted a little bit more research with other agencies, and did provide the Commission with a list of the numbers of persons who are incarcerated here in Glendale. And as you see in the report, currently parolees from the state prison system, current calendar year 2013 is 6. Individuals on early release from prison sentences is 2. And the number of persons, probationers, convicted of felonies and sentenced to county jail in calendar year 2012 last year was 146. Again, staff also looked for other needs assessments from other agencies providing these services and was not able to find any type of other data analysis on that. Main reason was that usually the agencies have historical data from LA County for their particular cities. For example, City of Los Angeles has their data for their agencies. But what staff will continue to do is monitor the numbers, monitor the women coming out of incarceration, and continue to monitor and update any services available. And as these numbers change or as the awareness becomes more so, staff will inform the Commission and make any changes to services for our department or the City of Glendale. But generally, that's our current numbers as we reported last time. So if there's any questions from the Commission on this report, I'm glad to take any questions.
Commissioner Cajoin?
Thank you, Chair Miller. First of all, I would like to thank you, Mr. Moses and Mr. Jesse, for this valuable information and research you done. Because I was reading last month on August report. This is really very valuable resources that we have. And also looking at the figures, that is less women, that they are out of jail. I understood from this research that there are enough resources that can help in the region, and we do not have many women coming out of jail or prison from Glendale, and so we do not need to start any new program. I think even the number is very small, and we like to keep it small. We like to prevent it. And I would like to ask some question, Chair Miller. There is a valuable information if we can know that as a Commission on the Status of Women, we would like to raise status of women and help the women in our Glendale community. First, the question that I wrote here, it's 4 questions. If we can have some answers later, that will prevent. What is the most common crime, and how many of these individuals go back to jail? Entry and exit interview. We'd like to know what is the purpose of that they are getting to jail and out of jail and going back. And what is the reason, if it's a family problem or many problems happen that the woman goes to jail. Also, I know it's a confidential exit survey and follow-up survey, like if we can have, if there is a survey like after 5 months, what is this woman's are they are accepted in the community? Do they find a job? Or how they are feeling in the community? And how many times back to jail this person? If we can have all this information, I know there is many resources that you listed here that can prevent them, that we can collaborate with them, or if we can collaborate with now the Datev Outreach, when he was mentioning, or Glendale College, we can collaborate with them to prevent them to come less. This women, I mean, I know this, you said it's 6, but we don't want that 6 to happen. Please, if we can have these questions, I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Miller.
We will, Madam Chair, members of the Commission, we will look into this data. Some of it, I believe, is definitely confidential, and some of it has to be reviewed by either our probation departments, and we will follow up with a report.
Commissioner Devine?
On Saturday, I happened to be at the Seroptimist International Fall Workshop, and Senator Liu was there, and she spoke. And she hit on women in prison and the problem that we're facing. And I asked for more information on how this commission could get involved, what we could do, if there was anything that we could do. And this was the reply that I got. Because of AB 109, and this bill has allowed, as you say, as is stated in the report, the NNNs, as they're called, the nonviolent, non-serious, and non-sexual parolees, to reintegrate back into society, many of whom are women with dependent children, women and young girls who have served a prison sentence for self-defense during a domestic dispute, others incarcerated for prostitution and or drug-related crimes. These women will need your help as they finish their terms and enter into society. For realignment to succeed, we as a community must come together and provide wraparound services for these parolees. For the past 3 years, Senator Liu has held roundtables with her police chiefs to find ways to work through these issues. We found out that the Pasadena Reintegration Council, led by their police chief, is very successful. It consists of community members and wraparound services for parolees. Now, she is working to pull together an advisory council for Glendale, Burbank, and the San Fernando City. Chief DePompa and Burbank Chief LaChase are on board, and our office is pulling folks to the table. I suggest, and she's suggesting, that having women from a commission like this one and women in the community that are interested in this project should be involved. And I would like to say to Chair Miller that I would be more than happy to volunteer for this collaboration. Commissioner Kajayan, you may like to volunteer as well, but I think this is the first step to this commission becoming involved in this process.
Great.
And so what I'd like to suggest is that staff look into this, maybe contact Senator Liu's office, Talene Monteoglu, and try to find out what the steps they are taking and how we can be involved. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Commissioner Devine. Commissioner Weissman?
Yes, one other aspect of this is prevention, and I wonder if you're able to contact the County Probation Department, particularly the probation officers who are assigned to Glendale Unified School District high schools. I believe there's one at Hoover and one at Glendale High, and see how many of the teen high school probationers are women. And a question I asked before and didn't get answered in the general high school probation department is did their outcome, because of being supervised by probation officers, or for whatever reason, what's the outcome of students on probation versus all the other students in high school? And if there's a possibility to look at those numbers, separated women or girls out, that might guide us into some other areas that we might work on prevention before they even get into the criminal justice system.
We will look into that, yes.
Thank you. It is a very difficult and I'm sure time-consuming aspect, but the earlier there can be some intervention in a process, I think, the better.
Director Duran.
Chair Miller, members of the commission, I will touch base with Chief DePompa. These questions or issues that you are raising are probably more in the purview of the police department. They probably have a lot more experience and a lot more network with the programs or the committees that are being formed. But I will definitely, we will definitely find out from Senator Liu's office what they are working on and figure out a way that we can involve a representative from the Commission on the Status of Women. But we'll definitely touch base with the police department and maybe even suggest, or maybe they would volunteer to come and speak and talk about what they know in terms of what's going on with women coming out of the incarceration and programs and services that they're familiar with. So we will definitely do that.
Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Vine.
Mr. Duran, being on the Safe Family Task Force, we hear from the police. That's where this commission kind of took hold of the idea of the CPR, the Commission Project Rescue for Domestic Violence Victims. And the same thing could happen here, is that if we hear from the police, we can brainstorm and find programs that we may, it may not be that commission, it may not be that committee, it may be a program that we come up with, such as a grant that gives the police department money for a psychologist, but I think that's something that staff and you can talk to the chief and other police officers and come back with information. But it's all a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and what we've done so far is in terms of a needs assessment, based on what we've been able to gather and tapping input from the experts in this field, by the social service agencies that do provide services for women coming out of the system. The needs in Glendale specifically don't appear to be that great. They probably are in other regions of the county, and that's probably why the services are headquartered in other parts of the region. So the need doesn't seem to be high here in Glendale in order to develop a program, but you get to decide that. You get to decide what programs you want to support, and we as staff resource can determine to what extent we can provide staff resources to facilitate those programs. So we'll keep on that track.
Well, Director Duran, we certainly as a commission appreciate your direction on this and leadership in finding out some of those the information for us so that we can come back together on this discussion. Also, Mr. Carrillo, we very much appreciate how we have put these questions out and you have continued to come back with data and resources for us. We know that your time is very valuable, and therefore we very much appreciate that you have spent this time looking into this.
My pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to go back to the regular agenda items, starting with item 5 into the business actions. If we could
Sure.
start with item A.
Yes. At 5A, under action items, we have consideration and discussion of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, DVAM activities. 1, motion providing direction regarding Domestic Violence Awareness Month, DVAM.
And if we could have, this is a lengthy report, so Ms. Alexanian, if you want to either provide a brief report or take it in parts. It doesn't look like any of these items need action items, so if you can decide how best to present.
Sure. Chair Miller, members of the commission, I want to apologize at first if I start coughing and my voice, so just want to apologize for that in advance. But for Domestic Violence Awareness Month activities, there are a couple of items, and I will take them one at a time and just go through them, and you can stop me if you have any questions or if there is a discussion that's necessary. The first part is we went to City Council on October 1st for a proclamation for October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Chair Miller accepted the proclamation on behalf of the commission, and a few of the commission members were present. Thanked the council and announced upcoming events that were presented by upcoming events organized by the commission, and presented them with lapel pins that the police department had donated to us. The candlelight vigil planning continues for the annual candlelight vigil with the YWCA. The event is this Thursday, October 17th, from 6 to 7 p.m. at the YWCA. And the vigil is in memory of victims of domestic violence, both survivors and those who have lost their lives. Speakers at the vigil will be the Glendale YWCA Chair Miller from the Commission, Armenian Relief Society Regional Chair, Police Department, and the Glendale Community College Police Department, a representative, the chief from GCC. We'll also have either a survivor speak. The YWCA is working on confirming a survivor, or the service manager that provides services at the YWCA. We'll also have a performance piece by the JV Dance All-Star 2012-13. The YWCA was able to secure that. Unfortunately, Yana, who was supposed to sing at the event, we were unable to confirm her for the event, so there was a bit of a change of plans. We'll have prayers and the lighting of the candles. The staff sent out emails, a press release. The information for the event is on the commission website. And GTV6 has been running a flyer for the event. The programs were printed today, so the programs are ready to go, and the event is basically on its way, so that's this Thursday. The Purple Ribbon event, staff is also continuing to plan for the Purple Ribbon event. We were able to confirm 3 locations. We'll have a table set up at the Montrose Harvest Market from 9 to 2, the Glendale Galleria from 12 to 4, and on Brand Boulevard in front of Massage Envy from 9 to 2. We are working on volunteers. I'm hearing back from volunteers, and we actually have 2 locations at the Galleria. One will be by Macy's, and the other one will be by the central entrance, which is basically the entrance from JCPenney. The organizations so far that have responded and will be participating with the commission are the Glendale YWCA, Massage Envy, Datev Outreach, Seroptimus International of Glendale, the Armenian Relief Society. So these were the organizations who have already notified staff that they'll have volunteers at the event. Commissioner Devine also mentioned the Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting pledge at the, I think, 2 months at the August meeting. So just wanted to let you know and get feedback from commission. Staff will print the pledge on purple paper and have crayons available if commission should wish to do so. We'll have that ready to go. So I'd like some feedback from the commission on that. And the student ex officios, Sahakian and Mirzakhanian, were able to pull together their volunteers last Sunday and cut the purple ribbons. So we have the ribbons and the pins ready to go for the event, and staff is finalizing the resource guide, which is an exhibit to your report. We need to go to print on the resource guide basically tomorrow to have it ready for Sunday or Thursday. I'd like to print maybe 200 copies for Thursday, and the rest will be ready by Sunday to have at the candlelight vigil. So, as I mentioned before, the Glendale Police Department donated the extra lapel pins. They had ordered some for the police department to wear, for the officers to wear, and there are about 80 extra pins. So feedback from commission on whether we'd like to hand those out, donate them, or I know there's also been mention of possibly selling them. So staff would like some feedback on that as well. That concludes my report. If you have any questions or want to go back to discuss any of the items.
Thank you very much, Ms. Alexanian, for both you and Ms. Hidalgo for your work in coordinating our events and for this very thorough report. Just a couple things before we open it up for discussion. We want to, during this report, just acknowledge and again thank both of our students, ex officio Marsahakian and ex officio Sahakian. Hey, I never realized you actually rhymed. Huh. Did you notice that in the interview? I didn't notice that. Well, we want to thank you very much for the work that you have done to coordinate the ribbons and to make this happen. We also want to thank Commissioner Devine for coordinating with the police department and the leadership of Chief DePompa to provide us with these pens. So we're very pleased with where this is going. Now, with that said, the three items that we first, starting regarding the hands and words printed on purple paper, if there's no objections, can we just direct staff to move forward on that? Commissioner Devine?
Yes, my comment is I would like, I don't know where the ex officios have volunteered to be on that day, but I think it would be really great if one of them was at the marketplace and one was at the Galleria, because there are going to be a lot of kids at those two locations, and you two can be giving that little pledge, and you will, it's just wonderful. It's real easy. We'll be glad to show you how to do it, tell you how to do it.
I have volunteered at the Montrose Harvest Fest, and I believe Market, and I believe you're volunteering at Massage Envy.
At the Glendale Gallery, or either one could work.
At the Glendale Gallery, I think would be a better place. There are going to be a lot of people there, and a lot of kids shopping.
We're actually hoping that all three locations would have the hands and word or not for hurting, and that we would have presence of students at all the locations.
Right, yeah.
Definitely.
So, and we can look at, depending on the time that you're available, student ex officio Sahakian, we can look at where your time can be spent on two locations. I do know that Massage Envy, their color is purple, and I do know that they are very excited and putting up a fairly big balloon, what do you call those, balloon arches, and very much behind the support of this event. So I think we're going to see some equal activity in all of our locations.
Definitely.
And they're also at different times, so that's good. Okay, so if there's no, if everyone is willing and moving forward with the pledge on purple paper, if there's no objections to that, we'll just direct staff to go ahead and move forward on that.
Another comment, I'm sorry, but on the purple paper, the handprint is not going to show up as it would on white paper. You know what I mean?
Sure.
The pens or the colors or anything, because the purple's going to be dark. Just do it on plain, I would suggest.
Well, there's lilac.
I don't have a preference. It's up to you guys. I mean,
If you can, do you have a light purple? I mean,
we'll have to check paper stock, so we could always do it on white.
something light, because it's not going to show up on it.
Something light in purple or something white. I guess that would be called lilac. Either way, we're in agreement that we're going to move forward with. Great idea. Okay. In terms of the resource guide, are there any comments moving forward? Staff, or this commission is very aware that this was a lengthy project for staff, and we're very grateful for their work on this. Are there any comments from the commission?
I just want to thank Ms. Alexanian for all the work and the staff for putting this together, because it really looks very good. It looks really good. All the numbers and information. It's a great guide.
Thanks, Commissioner Devine. I'd like to give credit to our team, because with Patty Betancourt and Iris Hidalgo, they definitely helped me put this together. So extend the thanks to them.
The only comment that I had, wearing my commission hat and not my Glendale Adventist hat, is that I believe Verdugo Hills, under hospitals, has had a name change.
USC?
Yeah, and so they might want their official name to be included on the resource guide. Any other comments from the commission? Okay, so we are moving forward with printing 200 copies, and then we will have copies at our remaining events. Okay. Did you have comments? No. Vice Chair Burns? Okay.
May I?
The,
A question.
yes, ex officio Mirzahakian.
Yes. Do we have sufficient amount of volunteers for each site, or do we call upon our members of our school to volunteer? Have we established a certain amount of volunteers for each booth, or?
Yes, we don't have sufficient amount of volunteers at this time. For all the locations, some of the locations, like the Montrose Harvest Market, will have Commissioner Wiseman that entire time. So even if there was no other volunteer, that would be covered. And I know that Commissioner Devine will be at the Galleria, and Commissioner Kojayan will be at Massage Envy. So at least one commissioner is going to be at the location. So, but again, we'd like to bring in as many volunteers as we can. So if you would like to reach out to the schools.
Thank you.
I will also be at all the locations at a variety of different times to
Right.
to backfill where we need volunteers. Commissioner Kajoyan?
The volunteers from Armenian Relief Society, just they are for 2 booths or for 3?
They have volunteered for 2 locations.
Do you need, we can contact them if there is not enough volunteers.
I've reached out to them,
Okay,
but
thank you.
I'm not sure that they
Would you-
haven't responded about a 3rd location.
So in terms of the question that has come up, as well as the comments that you made, Commissioner Kajoyan, I think amongst all of us, the answer is we do need more volunteers. And if we could try to get the volunteers to go to the locations at various times, that'd be helpful. Commissioner Devine?
Well, we have 4 locations and we have 5 commissioners, and it seems like there should be one of us at each location. And then we wouldn't have to worry about how many volunteers we have. There would always be one of us there. So I don't know that we need 100 volunteers for this.
Well, I've just received confirmation for a location the entire time from the commissioners I named. So, and Commissioner Devine, Chair Miller would like to be at all the locations. So if commissioners want to volunteer to stay at one location, that's up to you. I just wanted to report out what I've received so far.
Seems that would be the easiest way. Okay.
Okay. So the next item regarding is the lapel pins. One of the options for us with the lapel pins in discussion is to, we have 80 pins left, or we have 78 because 2 just went out to DATEV Outreach.
We have, well, the 80 extra was not including the ones that you had, that you gave out to DATEV Outreach.
So we have about 100 extra because of the ones, and we have about 95 that we can either. So in terms of a commission, let's discuss what we would like to do with them. One of the, I know that Massage Envy is very interested in working with us to raise funds on that day, and that was one of their questions when they offered to be a location. So we do have the option of actually selling these pins. That money could go towards our relief fund to the police. We do have the option of giving these to survivors or giving them to volunteers, or again, it would be what the will of the commission is. So is there any discussion on that?
Staff will take direction from commission.
I would like to say that I think it's a great idea to give them to the survivors, because if they are going to be attending, I mean, some of them are going to be attending the vigil at the YWCA, I think that's a great place to give it to them. And then if there are those who we can be in contact with and give it to them, that would be great as well. And if we do have some left over, can we sell them to the general public, or if Massage Envy wants to put them up for sale, that can work as well. So
Those are all great options. Thank you. Commissioner Devine?
Well, I agree that we should take them to the candlelight vigil and give them to survivors. I think that's great. I also think we ought to give them to the volunteers, the people that are giving their time to come and on a Sunday afternoon and morning. Each one of them should have a pin and a ribbon and for as a thank you from us. I don't think we should sell them.
Any other comments?
Yes, ma'am. I don't think this is, the Purple Ribbon is a fundraising event. I agree. I think that they should be given to specific people for specific reasons. Though we don't have that many anyway.
So if I can make a motion.
Well, hang on just one second. Any other comments from this side of the dais? Okay, so I just want to be clear on this. I agree with the comments that have come up in terms of giving them to the survivors at the Candlelight Vigil. I think that's a nice show of unity, again, in terms of all of us joining forces. In terms of the scenarios, let's say we have 40 that go out and we have 40 left. What does the commission want to do then?
We should
Keep them for next year.
Keep them for next year is one option. Okay. So it appears that the commission doesn't. It appears that this commission does not want to do any sale of pins whatsoever. Okay. Do we need a motion on that, Ms. Varpetian? Do you need an action item, or because there was none to begin with? Okay.
No, just because there was quite a bit of discussion, and so for the sake of clarity for staff, you probably want to have a motion on that.
Okay. Commissioner Devine, can you make a motion, please?
Excuse me,
Yes.
one more comment. It just occurred to me, if there are some left by next summer, if there's a segment of Camp Rosie that deals with domestic violence, we could give the campers and there were still enough pins left over. Hopefully there are not a lot of domestic violence victims in the interim that will need them. You could give them to the campers, the girls, to remind them of that segment.
Or after the safety defense. That's a very good...
some relevant.
Something. That's a very good
segment.
suggestion. Thank you, Commissioner Weissman. Okay. So we need a motion. We need a motion on the...
Okay, so I'll move that the pins that were donated by the police department for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the extra pins will be given to volunteers, survivors, and for any other event that the commission deems they're appropriate.
And we have a second.
I'll
Okay.
second.
And if we could have a roll call, please.
Certainly. Vice Chair Burns,
Yes.
Commissioners Devine,
Yes?
Kajayan,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Chair Miller.
Yes. Okay, next item on the agenda, please.
5B, financial and program update regarding the 2013 Camp Rosie program. At 1, motion to file a report regarding the 2013 Camp Rosie program and request feedback regarding the Camp Rosie program.
And can we have a report on this?
Sure. Chair Miller, members of the commission. Camp Rosie completed its 7th year at the city of Glendale this summer. The camp is designed for young women and girls between the ages of 12 and 18 years of age in order to empower them to make personal, educational, financial, and career choices. The camp was we had 2 3-week sessions. The first session was July 1st through the 18th, Monday through Thursday from 12:30 to 5:30, and the second session was July 22nd through August 8th. Again, same times, Monday through Thursday, 12:30 to 5:30. We had 38 girls participate in total, but we did have 48 applications received, 15 girls in session number 1 and 23 girls in session number 2. The average age of the participants in session 1 was 13 and a half years old, and the session number 2 was 15 years old. The Glendale versus non-Glendale residents, 67% of the first session were Glendale residents, and this information was not in the written report. I thought to look that up right before the meeting, and 96% was Glendale, and 96% of the participants in session number 2 were Glendale residents. The location of the camp is Pacific Community Center, both for convenience of it having a gym, a classroom, and the fact that it's in South Glendale, which we'd like to reach out to the at-risk, low-income population. The program objectives for Camp Rosie are increasing feelings of self-esteem, self-worth, and self-sufficiency among participants, introducing, developing, and practicing essential money management and business skills, and expanding and improving girls' knowledge of fitness and nutrition. The curriculum, as part of the report, there's a breakdown of the curriculum. I don't know if you would like for me to go through each one by one, or if you have any questions about any of them, we can go back to review, but basically, we
Could you
tried.
actually, just for our viewing audience, could you just actually give the titles of the curriculum without going
Sure.
into detail?
We
So
have-
they know the scope of
course.
the things we address?
Of course. The curriculum has introduction and overview, and icebreakers, junior achievement financial literacy curriculum, which includes class sessions and a field trip to junior achievement, creating freedom and awareness curriculum, which focuses on self-empowerment and healthy relationships, self-defense classes, fitness and nutrition, field trip to Glendale College, CPR classes, creative expression, which is basically art projects. They do painting projects or a vision board, which the participants can express how they see themselves and where they see themselves going. Movies and discussion, body image workshop, non-traditional careers. We have speakers from, we try to get women from non-traditional careers who have non-traditional careers to come and talk to the girls about their options and what they can do. Presentation by Salvation Army regarding the safe place. Presentation by Break the Cycle regarding teen dating violence. And this year we were able to get a college student to come and talk about her experience. So a presentation from the student. The camp, we have a pre and post survey that we give the girls, and it's exactly the same survey. We have them take the survey at the first day of class and then on the last day of class to measure the outcomes for what the camp intends to do and how much the girls have improved. And the way I did is I categorized the questions off the survey in order to be able to measure the outcomes into financial literacy, future planning, self-image, health, fitness, and relationships. And we were able to measure the success of the program by looking at the survey results. We noticed that first session, and I'll give the numbers for first session and second session, one after another respectively. We saw that there was a 62% improvement in session 1 and 61% improvement in session 2 from the girls on financial literacy. So, they felt that they were more responsible and confident about handling their financials after participating in the camp. 85% of the participants in session 1 and 61% in session 2 had an improvement in self-image, so they thought better of themselves after the camp and the way they viewed themselves. Future planning, 69% improvement in session 1, 48% in session 2. Health fitness, 77% improvement in session 1, 61 session 2. Relationships, 8% and 9%. So we see that there was an improvement in all the categories from the survey results, and this is kind of how we measure the success of the camp. The financials, basically there were the total cost of camp this year, and it was a little less this year compared to previous years because of the fact that we had Christine Powers, the former staff of the commission, teach the camp. Compared to hiring a camp director, and that was just the cost-saving measures for this year. So next year the cost will be a little higher, but the total cost of camp this year was about $7,800, and the difference, and I know the report states a different amount. It was just a discrepancy in the cost of the CPR classes. I got clarification today, and so the actual total amount is $7,800. And $1,400 was salaries, and $6,400 was M&O. The revenue that we were able to bring in for camp in 2013, we had a $1,000 grant from Sir Optimus International of Glendale and $7,000 from Dignity Health Glendale Memorial Hospital. I'm also happy to report that for next year, we were able to secure $10,000 from Dignity Health. I was notified that we were able to secure the $10,000, and we'll be getting letters soon. So I just wanted to report that out to Commission. That concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Ms. Alexanian. And thank you for your work in preparing the report as well as preparing the grant material for Glendale Memorial Hospital.
And I'd also like to thank Christine Powers for providing the curriculum information, because that was the background, and the history was definitely Christine, since this is my first year with the Commission.
And we also would like to thank her. I would say in my time being on the Commission, this is the most thorough report we've received of the curriculum, and we're very grateful both to you and Ms. Powers. Thank you. Commissioner Devine?
I was about to say that you said this is the 7th year, and this is the most comprehensive report I've ever seen in 7 years. It's fantastic. And it was a wow, because, a lot of us don't realize what the curriculum is composed of, and it's really terrific. And again, Mrs. Powers' background is in education, and once a teacher, always a teacher, so I know that she did a great job, and we all thank her. Good job.
Are there any other comments regarding Camp Rosie in this report?
Just clarification. You mentioned about the session number 1. How many % was Glendale residents?
First session was, sorry, let me go back to my number. I just lost that number.
Second session was 96%.
67%.
Thank you.
So in future agendas, what we'll discuss as a commission as we get closer to the next Camp Rosie, now that we, and Director Duran, if you could please correct me on this if it's not, but my understanding is without the CDGB funding, that does not prohibit us from going out to a larger population of young women in this age group. We're not just required to go to the underserved population, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that will help us with our outreach as well in terms of those young women that we might reach for Camp Rosie. Great. All right, and if we could go to the next item on the agenda, please.
Item 5C, appointment of chair for the 10th Annual Jewels of Glendale Awards Luncheon. At 1, motion appointing a chair for the 2014 Jewels of Glendale Awards Luncheon.
And if we could have a report.
Sure. The Jewels of Glendale Awards Luncheon is a major fundraiser for the Commission, and this will be the 10th anniversary for the luncheon. The purpose of the luncheon is to bring attention to the accomplishments of women in the city and to raise funds for various projects of the Commission. At this time, staff would like to recommend that the Commission appoint a member to serve as chair of this event. I believe Commissioner Burns was the chair last year, if I'm not mistaken. We'd like to select a chair this month, and we'll come back next month with a report on the date and a venue for Commission to select a date and a venue, and to take volunteers for the different committees to start planning the event. I know the event's in May, but we got to start early.
And if I may, Ms. Alexanian, just provide this commission with a little bit more background. We are looking at this early because in so many of the community events that are happening in 2014, there are, many of us belong to so many different organizations that have events and have luncheons, and we know that our ability to secure a space is probably better if we can secure it closer and up front. But before we secure a place, we have to nominate a chair, and so that is why this is earlier on our agenda than might be in previous years. So with that, do we have any person who would like to nominate themselves to be the chair, or?
You can nominate someone.
Are you interested?
And I will accept.
You would be interested in being chair, and you
nominate me.
I nominate you.
I accept.
And then what we would look at is having a newer commission. Was there anyone on this side of the dais that was so moved or so interested? Or we're all going to have the ability to be involved. There's going to be a number of committees that we can all get involved in.
Okay.
It's all new to me, so I'll help wherever it's needed.
Okay. So
I can volunteer.
I will go ahead and make a motion that we nominate Commissioner.
Probably want to pass the gavel
Okay.
if you're going to do that, or ask.
I'll ask someone else to make the motion.
Commissioner Devine, make the motion.
I make the motion that Commissioner Burns is chair of the Jewels of Glendale Luncheon.
2014, yeah. Okay.
You've got
And
a
do we have a
second?
second?
Yes, I second.
All right. So with that, can we have a roll call, please?
Vice Chair Burns,
Yes.
Commissioners Devine,
Yes?
Kajayan,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Chair Miller.
Yes. Thank you, Vice Chair Burns, for agreeing to do this again. Just to also let you know, as we move forward, a lot of work was done last year to secure a very specific format for our invitation, and that a lot of work has already been done by Vice Chair, so it actually seems very natural for her to sit in and perhaps be able to be the chair with a number of this luncheon with a number of the items already taken care of. So thank you, Vice Chair Burns. Okay, and with that, can we have the next item on the agenda?
Item 5D, consideration and discussion of sponsorship of Women in Arts event at Forest Lawn. At 1, motion providing direction regarding commission sponsorship of Women in Arts event at Forest Lawn.
If we could have a brief report on this?
As an extension of the LA Women yesterday, today, and tomorrow exhibit at Forest Lawn, which runs through January 5th, various groups are collaborating to plan a Women in Arts event to shine light on the arts and women in the arts in our community. Forest Lawn has come forward and would like to host a reception and provide the space for a panel discussion about women in the arts to raise awareness about women's contributions to art and elevate the status of women in the arts. Various organizations would like to partner to organize this event, such as Forest Lawn, Glendale Arts, the City of Glendale's Arts and Culture Commission, and the Office of Senator Carol Liu. Back in July, there was an LA Times article titled "Lack Mamoka Fall Behind in Giving Female Artists a Solo Platform." And basically, the article talked about how there is a higher percentage of men having the ability to showcase solo work at the museums than women. And so this kind of speaks to the reason why we would want to highlight women in the arts and elevate the status of women. And so a well-known producer and women's advocate, Suzanne De Laurentiis, has also agreed to facilitate a panel discussion regarding this event. And there is a meeting scheduled to discuss the details of the event and the roles of each party, but at this time, staff would like to hear from Commission whether the Commission would like to support or sponsor this event, and that wouldn't be, there's no financial impact to the Commission. It would basically be promoting and helping promote the event and supporting the event. So I think Chair Miller might have a little bit more background on the event. I'm not sure if you'd like to add more to that, Chair Miller, but staff at this point would like some feedback from the Commission on whether the Commission would like to show support for this event.
How this, just to provide you all more feedback or background as we're considering this, how this event came about was really a timing thing, and why we're looking at this today as a commission before an actual planning meeting takes place has more to do with the availability of all the parties to come together, combined with the length of when this exhibit runs, combined with when we meet or maybe don't meet again in November. So if I can provide as much backfill as possible on this particular matter, we know that in previous meetings, Commissioner Devine had raised an idea for women in art and having an art fair. This does not take away from that, Commissioner Devine, nor does it mean we can't actually do it in Women's History Month. In fact, this can be a prelude to that. But this particular opportunity came to us, and I actually have the book, which I can pass around with all the artists. This particular opportunity came to us because Forest Lawn has a need to really do the outreach on their particular facility in their museum, which, if we know, as I've become aware of this museum and dealing with them, it is actually in the top 10 in the United States of free museums. So right here in our city of Glendale, we are sitting on a pretty fantastic museum. Combined with that, when we had our Women in Art come and speak to us in July, we had our curator come from Forest Lawn about this exhibit, LA Woman Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. Since then, there's been an opening reception, there's been an exhibit, and they want to shine a light on this. At the same time that that was happening, the California Commission on the Status of Women had a need to mobilize all their forces. And at one point, they were looking at joining forces with us in terms of who they might provide. For example, the chair of the California Commission is Ms. Gina Davis, the Academy Award winner. Ms. Davis is not available to us at that time, but at the same time, our state senator, Carol Liu, who is part of this district, is also on the California Commission and is available to us and has an interest in art. Combined with the fact that I was able to meet with a producer, Suzanne De Laurentiis. She's a producer. She has a very big background in opera and art and philanthropic issues, as well as things that line up with this commission. She supports female veterans, and she has an event about that, and she willingly and graciously said, I absolutely would like to facilitate some sort of panel discussion. So she agreed, Senator Liu agreed, the artists got excited, our Arts and Culture Commission here in Glendale became excited, and Glendale Arts, and so everybody is lining up saying, yes, we want to do this. What it would actually look like is a panel presentation with a reception, all of the financial impact, again, taken on by Forest Lawn, because they have a need for us to go and see the exhibit, and we are essentially adding our names to this event as in support of it, as well as providing people on the event committee to go forward. So with that, I wonder if there are any questions from this commission or comments or thoughts. Yes.
To clarify, the entire event is based on the panel discussion and to get the artists involved in how to raise their status. So that's the event, including the reception.
Well, the actual panel discussion will be about women historically in art. It will also, Ms. Alexanian quoted the article about the mocha and the lakma, and there's a disproportionate variable between men and women who curate art events. So right now in Glendale, we have an event that is at a very prestigious museum. They would like people to go to this exhibit, combined with the fact that we have Celebrity Power, who has decided to join forces with us to really raise awareness. So in terms of lining up with the commission, it really does help us to elevate the status of women. There are some fairly famous artists. Ruth Weissman from USC, she will participate and be involved in this. And they're also talking about other people who are on the Arts Commission that are well noted that would be included as well. So for us, presenting this opportunity, it seemed like a win-win where we might really be simply involved because of the topic and the nature and what it might be about elevating women in our community. Commissioner Devine?
Well, I love the idea of us being involved in this project. My only regret is that how many women from Glendale that are artists are going to be a part of the exhibit. Now, it says in the report that they plan a Women in Arts event to shine light on the arts and women in the arts in our community. Are there women from our community, women artists that are going to be shown at this event? Or is it these women are all from Germany and Laguna, and I didn't see anyone there from Glendale?
The curator, Joan Adon of Forest Lawn, who has a very specific involvement in this, would actually be representing that element of Glendale. She also identified for me that she would be, because I did bring that to her about Glendale women in art, and she identified that she could reach out to some Glendale women artists.
Well, I think if the commission is involved in this, I think we should insist that there be Glendale artists there represented.
Okay. Yeah, we can certainly make that recommendation to them. And what we could also do is use this as a springboard for what we might do as well in the event that you've identified with women artists specifically, so that we might include some sort of Glendale artist, one or two or however many, and then use this as a springboard for a future event we might plan. Any other comments?
I just have a question. What time frame are you looking for having this panel? When do you...
Well, the exhibit closes on January 5th, and so we are looking at November or the first week of December. So you see it's all come up rather quickly in my opening comments where I've talked about timing. And because of when we meet and bringing this forward, I couldn't commit on behalf of the commission until we all identified the direction we wanted to go.
So it's November 1st.
Mm-hmm. And that date will actually be determined tomorrow, and there would be a follow-up email and outreach that would take place as well. Ms. Alexanian will be a part of that meeting, and she can go ahead and let the rest of the commission know the exact details and outcomes. So any more? Okay, so we need a motion to provide direction regarding our commission sponsorship of women in arts at the event at Forest Lawn. Do we have a motion?
Also move that we sponsor, co-sponsor, or whatever the wording is for this.
And we have a second. So if we could take roll call, please.
Vice Chair Burns?
Yes.
Commissioners Devine?
Yes.
Giant?
Yes.
Wiseman?
Yes.
Chair Miller?
Yes.
And that is with no codicil that we would have Glendale artists involved, since they weren't mentioned.
Commissioner Devine, I will certainly take your comments forward and the strength of your comments forward and bring that to the committee and see what we can do to incorporate that.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
it's my understanding that the artists have already been chosen, and they're being exhibited right now. Are you trying to say that?
But that doesn't.
We can.
That doesn't preclude. That doesn't. Right. We can go with the suggestion of, is there a Glendale artist? For example, the exhibit is called L.A. Woman Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. Perhaps we can suggest a woman artist of tomorrow that is here in our area or today. Yes. Okay. Can we? All right. Seeing that there are no further comments, let's go on to the next item on the agenda.
Item 5E, consideration and discussion regarding the 2014 special focus of the Commission on the status of women. One, motion providing direction regarding the 2014 special focus.
So, in terms of the report on this, essentially what we do as a commission is, you can see from the background and the analysis what the themes were in the past. We need to come together, give this some thought, and talk about what our direction will be for 2014. Did anyone have any ideas? You can see the previous themes. They were Year of Glendale Girl, Women Lead was another year, 2009 was Women's Health, 2010 was Year of the Volunteer, 2011 was Elevating Women, 2012 was Celebrating Women in Aging, and 2013 was The Spirit of Women.
I have a suggestion, Chair Miller.
Yes.
May I present it?
Yes.
Since there is many conflicts going on in the world today, and we have a very revolutionary leader, Malala Yousafzai, I would propose revolutionary women as a way to go, because we are a group of revolutionary women, and we're trying to overthrow patriarchy within our community or within the world.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Commissioner Devine?
I would ask if you have more examples besides Malali that you would like to see come forth.
Well, as a progressive country, we have a lot of leaders within Congress and Senate and House of Representatives, and Hillary Clinton is an example, and many other women that are representative outside of government. Anna Wintour is the leader of Vogue, and she's a very representative woman. She's a powerful woman. I'm sure there's many other women.
So could it be, in the interest of brainstorming, I'm just throwing out words, strong women overcoming obstacles?
Sure.
Women overcoming obstacles, something along that. Is that where you're going?
Yes.
Any other thoughts?
But are you talking about, if I may, Chair Miller, famous women like Indira Gandhi or...
Right. It doesn't always have to be famous women. We can have innovative women within our community, and they are a part of a revolution because they're presenting new ideas and they're breaking free of this conformity.
Brilliant idea. Brilliant. Very nice. Very nice. I'm just trying to get more information from you, but it's very good. Very good.
So innovative women?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I had kind of a similar idea, and I was kind of looking at paths to success. Women who succeed and overcome. Okay, and these were my thoughts. For instance, a woman in politics who has an interesting backstory, like Councilwoman Friedman, a city government, someone like Yasmin Beers, who comes from the librarian all the way up to assistant city manager. I have, for nonprofits, I have an idea of a woman for finance, if I may mention her name, Jory Potts, who has a backstory that is unbelievable, but she came from, the Women of Courage. And, this is our 10th anniversary for our Women of Courage Awards. And so I think that maybe this year we should focus on women of courage. Every month, just have someone come in that we know in our community, and I have names written down. We now have a new CEO at USC Verdugo Hills Hospital, a woman, and perhaps she has an interesting backstory that we should hear about, and how she got to that position. Where did she come from, and how did she get there? What was her path?
Especially since so many women are not on boards.
Right.
And that's such a big issue at the national level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Women of Courage. We had Deborah Collins come in, and that was an incredible presentation. And she went from the depths, and now she's a published author. So I think it would be interesting in our 10th year to have women of courage come in and tell their stories.
I like the tie-in to the 10th year of the luncheon a lot. Thank you, Commissioner Devine. What are some, just in the interest of time and brainstorming, are there any other thoughts? Yes.
I was thinking Women Vote. There's going to be a special election coming in 2014 also, and it would be good to have more participation. And women do already vote at a higher percentage rate than men, but we could still do better. So I think that ties in. I love your idea of revolutionary women.
Thank you.
Sort of, a nonviolent revolution through the vote.
Absolutely. A peaceful revolution.
Peaceful revolution.
But a strong revolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there other comments?
I'd like us to think about this till next month or the month after. I do not feel, Chair Miller, that taking specific women and naming them is the way to go for next year. Simply because there are so many women to choose from, I don't think it would sit very well at all. This is not something that I would support, simply because I think specific women in Glendale or surrounding area, we'd almost have to pull everyone in. I don't see how you're going to choose specific women for each month. You could do this, but I think that we need an overall theme rather than just the specific women.
So your suggestion is to table this until, now just know what we're facing, everyone. We may or may not have a November meeting based on the next item on the agenda. And that would lead us into December, and that would require staff to be during holiday season and closures and things. That would require them to hit the ground running with our January, our theme and our speaker. Did you want to add something?
Chair Miller, I just wanted to say that this is the focus of the calendar, but we would have to come back next month or in December if there is no November meeting to identify the specific theme for each month. So if we don't select an overall focus for the year, we wouldn't be able to identify that
Right.
and the month. So I think it would be important to either do that now, or hopefully there will be a meeting in November if everyone's available on a new date to maybe discuss the focus in November and then set the theme for each month in December, and we'll move forward with that.
And this is also the second month we've moved this back, correct?
Correct.
This was on a previous agenda, and this would be the second time we've moved it back.
Correct.
Okay. So now we know what we're faced with. So Ms. Varpetian, do we have the ability to table this, move to the next item, see if there will be a November meeting, and come back to this discussion?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is the commission wanting to do that? Okay. Then let's go to the next item on the agenda. And I realize, Ms. Alexanian, that I did your report for you on this. I know you do a lovely, I know I did your verbal report, but there wasn't much there. So in the interest of time and
That's fine.
seeing if our Dodgers are winning, I was moving us on. Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
Item 5F, cancellation of the commission regular meeting of November 11th, 2013, and selection of a new meeting date. At one, motion selecting a new date for the commission regular meeting in November.
And can we have a report on this, please?
I believe that the commission hopefully received the email with the corrected report, which provides the dates, and a few options for new dates for a November meeting. The November meeting falls on November 11th, which is Veterans Day, so that will have to be canceled. So staff is looking for direction on a new date for the November meeting.
I was wondering if the easiest process for us to do this is for each, we do have the dates. Does everyone have the dates in the new report?
Would you like me to?
They're in the packet. Oh. This is all, no, but I.
The
Commissioners?
packet that you have in front of you, Commissioner Burns, the printout, that one should have the dates.
And you can also look at mine, if that helps. I am wondering if the easiest way to go forth is to have each, both our student ex officios and each commissioner identify their top 3 meetings and have someone take a poll on this and then to go forward.
That would work.
Okay.
For Monday, November 4th, I am sure that Commissioner Mirzakhanian and I will be in class at 9 a.m. until 11 a.m., so that day will definitely not work for us.
Do you have your top 3?
My top 3 would be Thursday, November 7th, Tuesday, November 12th, and Thursday, November 14th.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Devine?
I would say for me it would be Thursday the 7th, and how can we do Tuesday the 12th at 5:30? Isn't City Council on
Right.
Tuesday?
Their meeting has been canceled for that day.
Okay, then that would be good for me, the 7th or the 12th, those two. I wouldn't like to see it moved any further back, towards the end of the month. I'd like to have it closer to the beginning.
The 12th seems appropriate to me.
That's only one. We'll go with one. We'll come back to you if we'll go with one. The 7th and the 12th and the 22nd work for me.
7 and 12. 21st is okay with me.
Yeah, I can go the 7th, the 12th, the 14th, or the 21st.
Okay, and...
Sorry.
7th, 12th, or 14th would be fine.
Okay, so now everybody, from what I've heard, if my collection's correct, I've heard unanimous the 7th or the 12th. Is that what you have? Oh.
There will be two.
Yes.
Yeah. I have all 7 of you on the 7th, and 6 out of 7 on the 12th.
I have all 7 on both dates, so.
So we meet twice. Just kidding. All right. So, it's one half dozen of one or the other. I never get that saying right. Let's just do a motion.
Can I break the tie?
Yes. Can you break the tie?
Can we do it on the 12th, November 12th, Tuesdays?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Is that your availability, Ms. Alexanian?
I mean, I'd be available all days, but if I had a
Yes,
preference.
but that would also be important. We should actually take into consideration staff.
No, I mean, we already verified, but if we're going to choose between the two, I'll be your
Okay.
tiebreaker.
So can we have a motion for Tuesday, November 12th?
Yes. Move we change our November meeting to Tuesday, the 12th, from 5:30 to 7:30.
Okay, that would be a moving of the 11th to the 12th, correct? Okay. And it looks like we're unanimous. Is there comments?
I just want, I have 2 items for the agenda for that month. Is this an appropriate time for me to bring them up, or shall I wait until commission comments?
Commission comments.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Madam Chair, was there a second on this item yet?
Second.
There's a second, and I believe it is unanimous. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with the rescheduling to Tuesday, November 12th. I did see the comments over there. Is council not meeting for sure?
Chair Miller, I was just asking Ms. Varapetian, just in case council does decide for whatever reason if they have an item and they'd like to meet on Tuesday. Right now, they're dark, they're not meeting. But if they do, for whatever reason, want to have a meeting that day, could we put November 7th as the second option?
Yes, and yes, you had a unanimous, and that's a very good plan. Thank you for catching that, Ms. Alexanian.
And we don't need a motion for that. In fact, the chair can set the special meeting dates unilaterally. So if that is the case, then Ms. Alexanian will be in touch with you, and then we'll pick the 7th as the alternate date.
Great. Okay, so now that we know we have a date in November, if we could go back to the discussion on the theme. That means, just in terms of logistics, that means that would give us time from now until the November meeting to come back with ideas, and that we have some ideas that have already been put out that are good ideas. We can look at women of courage, we can look at paths to success, we can look at revolutionary women, we can look at strong women, innovative women. We can also come back with more ideas in November and then vote, but knowing that in December our meeting would require us to set the actual themes per each month. Any discussion?
Chair Miller, I actually have one idea that I attended a conference at UCLA a couple of weeks ago regarding education of Latino Americans and why most people do not receive an education, whether it is problems within the family or financial support. So I think that besides Latino Americans, I think this actually impacts women as well. So if we could use education in some way just to give the commission time to think about that until the next meeting, because I do feel as if the revolutionary women idea is great, but I feel as if we should focus on one specific area rather than just a general revolutionary women topic. So I think education and the importance of women actually striving to get into higher degrees of education, higher...
Thank you for those comments. Just how this actually works, just so you know, and historically I know that the commission has gone from more, last year our discussion actually went from being less specific to being more general, and then being very specific in the months. So just so you know, we can very much address what you're bringing up in the specific months, or we can, like you say, do an entire year that focuses on education. It would be, again, at the will of the commission. I might suggest that you go between now and November. You might want to go away and look at those months which specifically focus on education, and when we get to the themes, so that we can have a fairly fast-moving discussion through this, you can have some really great topics for those particular months. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So on this particular item, we need to know if we are voting on an actual theme or if we want to hold until next month. Anybody have Vice Chair Burns was very specific on wanting to hold. Is anybody else moved in that direction? Yes.
And if not, then you're looking for a specific motion to pick one of the themes, am I correct?
Correct. So do we have motions to either pick a theme or a motion to hold until next month?
I would move to hold next month. I think there should be much more discussion before you are making a motion for a yearly theme. That would just be my thought.
In terms of any feedback I might have on that, whichever way we vote actually is fine by me. I can vote yes on both of those. But what I would put out if we do hold is a request that we really specifically, in addition to looking at the theme for next month, even go a step further and think of what those actual months would look like. Because I'm getting concerned that we've already held this over from 1 month, and we are getting to the end of the year and staff is waiting for our direction. Okay, so you're, Vice Chair Burns, you're the one with the most opinion on one direction or the other, so I would request that you make a motion.
I did. I move that we hold this decision until next month, and that the decision is based on much more discussion. Because I don't think that there's been enough discussion to choose a theme for the entire year. I also feel, I'm sorry that I'll carry on, I also think that I love the idea of your ladies and your choices, and I think we could work those in each month, but I don't think that should be the overall theme of the year. I think we need an overall theme, and I don't know how we can get that from right now. So I would prefer to wait until November. And basically in November, I think we could make every decision.
To clarify, I'm sorry. May I make a
Yes.
May I ask a question? To clarify, Vice Chair Burns and Chair Miller, we are not going to name drop at all.
Here we are.
We are? Okay.
Well, of course you are.
Okay.
I didn't get from Commissioner Devine, if I may speak for you, I didn't get from Commissioner Devine's comments that she was bringing up names of people. She was giving examples of women in courage.
Right.
So I didn't see it that way.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
You would be wanting to speak about specific, wouldn't you?
Well, specific, what we could do, is, for instance, I have made a list, a very quick list on women whom we admire for their education and for their success. And I said we could do politics, city government, education, medicine, entrepreneur, nonprofit, and finance. And find women in our community who have succeeded in these areas. And I actually made a list even of the women that I think would be fabulous speakers. But we don't have to necessarily, that they can come from anywhere. Anyone can make that suggestion. So, but that's...
Chair Miller, just to clarify for the new commissioners and the ex officios, once the monthly themes are selected, just like we had DATEV Outreach here to speak on the topic of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we would select speakers or nonprofits next month as well, and that's how our speakers are selected, based on the monthly theme. And so that's what, my understanding is that's what Commissioner Devine was saying, is based on the monthly theme. Once the commission identifies the theme, we would bring forward either an individual or an individual that represents an organization that would be able to come and speak on the topic. So just to clarify, that's normally how speakers are selected, is it's based on your monthly theme. How we do it going forward is up to commission.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Weissman?
Yes, and it occurs to me as Commissioner Devine was speaking, of all the various topics she suggested, government, education, business, we could have revolutionary women in government, education, business, and tie both ideas together, sort of, innovative women in each area. And then the politics one could certainly mention some of the women you mentioned. Well, human rights, Malala would definitely be a representative of how to be revolutionary in your pursuit of human rights.
Thank you.
So,
I think
Commissioner Devine?
and I've said this in jest, but we have to have people that we can come in and have speak. So we certainly could not get Malala to come in and speak. So it has to be, I think, women from our community that have, and we would touch on education. If we have a doctor, and whoever that would be, would come in and talk about how their education formed their lives and was their path to success. And so it all can tie together as far as health.
I might also add in jest that I believe if we put student ex officio Mirzakhanian on to getting Malawi as a speaker, she probably would. So she probably would surprise us. Okay, with that being said, we have a motion on the table to hold it.
I don't think you had a second. You just had.
We did not have a second. Do we have a second to that motion? The other option is that we're going to choose a theme. Going once? Going twice? Okay. We do not have a second to that motion, so that, I believe, the direction then from this commission is to vote on a theme. And if we are voting on a theme, I would put, I like the tie-in to our 10-year Courage Award and Women of Courage. That would be my feedback. Any other feedback? Any other themes? Do we have a motion with a theme? Should I hand the gavel over and make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I make the motion that the commission choose Women of Courage as our focus for next year, being that it is our 10th anniversary of our Jules Luncheon and Courage. And those women shall be drawn from our community and tell their stories.
Do we have a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Kajoyan. Now we'll take a roll call.
Vice Chair Burns.
I would like an explanation. I'm not quite sure what you mean by they will come in and tell their stories.
Well, we would have them come in and speak.
I would see that I would see that as no different than all the speakers we've had this year. Today was DATAV Outreach, July was Forest Lawn, last month was Glendale Adventist on stroke prevention. It's not that different than
And what was it when we had Deborah Collins come in? She was...
overcoming obstacles.
Overcoming obstacles.
I don't think it is the same thing. You're having someone come in to speak about a specific group, a specific 501c3 and what they do. In your case,
I didn't say that.
we're bringing a woman in to speak specifically about herself and how she has been courageous. It just doesn't seem to...
I think with any of our speakers, we've always put the directive out to them to come in and speak about what they do and to not self-promote. And I think that all of our speakers have come under that goodwill and have really opened us up to all the great services they provide. So I think that same directive would take place and people would come and speak about what they do.
And I, if I may, I look at this as them being proud to come in. One of my suggestions was the entrepreneur, and I'll tell you what my thought was behind that suggestion. We have in Glendale the Goody Girls, the cupcake business. I think it's still in existence. But here's a young girl who loved to make cupcakes. She goes on cupcake wars because she wants to get money to start her own business. And she wins and gets the money, and now we have this business in Glendale. How did she get there? What's her background? What's her education? What was her motivation? I just think it would be interesting to hear some of these stories. And there may be another entrepreneur that somebody else knows that's maybe even more interesting than that. That was my thought process.
Any other comments?
I'd like to hear.
I'd like to make another comment.
Yeah.
You know, I think it behooves the chair to. This is your choice. This is your year, and I think it would be in your best interest to take a stand, to name what is it that you want to do? What is your vision for this commission for the next year? And do that. And I know you want our vote and you want our consensus, but it is your year, and I think you need to do what is in your heart to do.
Well, I actually appreciate that feedback, and if I may just tell you, when I was reading the reports while I was on the plane from Chicago to here, and I was reading the reports, it actually stated that historically the chair chose the theme. And I was thinking to myself that as the chair, I've never actually gotten to choose the theme, and wouldn't that be so easy if I just could choose the theme and this discussion would have ended. But that is not the case historically. So while I appreciate that, Commissioner Devine, and I appreciate that vote of confidence, that is not where the commission has gone in the past few years, and that's not been up to me. So I have to go with the direction of getting all the input. It's just the way it is. But I also think that I've stated I would like to see it be women of courage. I mean, I think I was very definitive early on. I think I was very definitive. So,
Chair Miller and Commissioner Devine, we have many feminists within the community, so maybe we could have some sort of TED Talk, if you guys are familiar with that. It's a technology, entertainment, design talks that various women and men give their ideas, and we could have a representation of these people who come in, and they could give their talk, or if they have a talk to give. And
well, that's a very good idea also, and I think we're getting into the details of the actual month, so I'm glad that we're getting ahead. We did last year, actually, during February, which is the STEM month, we did have a very powerful speaker from JPL. It was pretty fantastic. But with that being said, I think the direction where we're going is we have a motion. We have some discussion and question on that, and we need to vote. So let's do roll call.
Vice Chair
Can
Burns?
you state back to us? Can you state back to us the motion before we vote?
I apologize. I don't have it written verbatim, but the motion was basically to have the focus be women of courage, and to have. Is that correct?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Commissioner Devine made a motion that the special focus for 2014 be women of courage, and that women from the community be invited to tell their stories. Is that correct, Commissioner Devine?
Correct.
Sounds correct to me.
And I had a second from Commissioner Kojayan.
Great. And if I can just comment again, we've always chosen a theme and we've always had speakers from the community, so I just don't see this that different. So let's do a roll call.
Vice Chair Burns?
Yes.
Commissioners Devine?
Yes?
Kojayan?
Yes.
Wiseman?
Yes.
Chair Miller?
Yes.
May I recommend for next month, if I could get suggestions from Commission on the monthly themes, and I will present that in a report to maybe help with the discussions before the meeting. So if commissioners want to send me recommendations for the monthly themes for next month, the next month's report will be to identify a theme for each month.
And you can send any theme you want. There is nothing to stop you from sending a list of 10. The more themes that we have, the more we can narrow them down.
We are allowed to, sorry, I have a question.
Yes.
We are allowed to discuss this with an email, the monthly themes?
You would discuss them with staff and not
Staff.
with commission.
Chair Miller?
You'll be giving staff input. We'll report out on the input that we received.
Chair Miller?
Thank you
so
If
much.
I may, I can get Ms. Alexanian started on this, on the politics, city government, if you want to, education, medicine, entrepreneurship, nonprofit, and finance.
And if you would be so willing to take a copy of that list, thank you, Commissioner Devine. I saw that list. And then we're all going to add to it, and then we will narrow down our very special themes. And guess what? We have 2 months to discuss it now, our special themes. All right? Okay, thanks everybody for that very involved discussion. Now, if we could go to our next item on the agenda.
Next item is 6B, Dating Abuse Common Complex Newspaper Article Discussion. Verbal.
I want to thank Vice Chair Burns for bringing forward this article. You know, aside from raising awareness and advocacy, one of the things that this commission is also tasked with is looking at things that are going on in terms of current events. So I would invite any commissioner, as you're seeing things that are either in the newspaper or that are current events or that are current trends, that you would actually bring these items to my attention so that we can put this on the agenda in the form of a discussion. Now, with that said, Vice Chair Burns, did you have a few comments since this is an article you brought forward?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair Miller. Excuse me. This article seemed to be extremely important to us. Dating abuse is common, but it is also complex. And the study shows similar data for both teen boys and girls. The types of dating abuse, emotional, verbal, have been reported in 88% of cases, physical 52% of cases, and sexual 18% of cases. And when I read this article, and I read it again, I think Chair Devine and I were discussing the fact that there's also a really strong jumping point of us making assumptions. We've got to be really, really careful before we make some of the assumptions that all abuse is the same or all of it is complex. I just wanted everyone to read it and make comments about what they thought about this report.
The thing that stuck out the most to me is that the differentiation between both boys and girls who either thought they were victims of physical abuse or dating violence was not that different. They were very similar in terms of the numbers. I was wondering if you could identify the source that you pulled this from, in case any...
This was the... Oh, I'm
Is this
sorry.
an LA Times article?
I believe it was an LA Times article.
And it's called Dating Abuse...
Excuse me.
USA
USA
Today.
Today.
Oh, USA Today article. USA Today.
Kim Painter.
It would have come out in August, approximately July, August. That's when you came up with this, and it's called Dating Abuse Complex for any of our viewing audience. Are there any other comments that stuck out when you were reading this? Any of our commissioners? Is there any one final thought you wanted to leave with us when you chose this article?
Not particularly. I just thought it was an excellent article for us to read and take in.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there an organization that helps students who are in relationships or teens who are in a relationship that are in abusive relationships, especially, help them get out of it and help them reestablish themselves? Or
Does the YWCA or the YMCA have any classes like that in Glendale locally?
We have taken up the cause as a commission. We have palm cards that we give out. Our 2 student ex officios last year were very instrumental in helping us with the design on these. It's the 10 differences between relationships that are healthy and not healthy. So, and when we get into our year next year, we will look upon the 2 of you to help us to really get this information into the high schools. Yes, Commissioner.
And I believe Glendale schools, high schools, have a component on dating, abuse, and violence. They do the hands and words are not for hurting for the elementary classes, and the older children, they have I don't recall the name of it, but there's a film, and they do approach resources and how ways to recognize if you're in an abusive relationship, and particularly if it's your first dating experience, you may not be aware of the pressure you're being put under, and that really does go past the line into abuse, and how to recognize it and how to cope with it and move on, change the relationship or get out of it. So I think the school district helps.
Commissioner Devine?
Well, I think it's January is Safe Dating Awareness Month, and so we always, the commission usually makes a push to raise awareness of dating abuse, and actually we like to call it healthy relationships on a more positive note. And again, the palm cards come into play, and we will probably have you girls go out and spread the word about resources and break the cycle. We also address this in Camp Rosie.
Yes, we
Okay, there's a big push
Big
for
component.
it. Yeah, see Camp Rosie. So we've always, yes, we addressed. Good question.
Okay. Are there any other comments on this article? All right. Thank you, Vice Chair Burns, for bringing this forward. Any other time that any of us are so moved with something that we might see that would be of interest to the Commission, please bring it forward. Now, with that said, can we go to the next item on the agenda?
6C, Commission on the Status of Women's 2013 Master Calendar of Events.
And can you identify for us the last 2 months and the master item for both our November?
Sure. Chair Miller, for November, our theme is Veterans Supporting Women Returning from Duty, and our December theme is International Human Rights.
Mm-hmm. So with the help of, I'm sure when we look at speakers for those months, we have a number of resources we can call on, either through the YWCA, through Wellness Works, through other people who are in the community, our Veterans Coalition that we have worked on. and we can go forth and come up with any speakers. Any commissioners that have any organizations or any ideas for speakers, please provide that to staff so that they can be apprised of the new date and time, and we can get that going. Okay. Next item on the agenda.
Item 7, Commissioner Staff Comments.
Okay. I wanted to start with just a couple of opening comments, and then we'll go around the dais and close it from there. But I did want to thank staff and just alert any of our viewers who were watching some previous work. You know that in October, healthcare reform has gone into implementation, and we did have a speaker come in and talk about that. So the link is on our website. It is we had agreed that we would do that, and staff has definitely taken care of that. And that website is www.covered, COVEREDCA, which stands for California, coveredca.com. And you can go and ask any questions regarding healthcare reform or look up resources there, amongst all the other things that are available in the public. During the month of September and October, we are gearing up for a very busy time. I had the opportunity to achieve the Women Business Achievers along with many of the commissioners who I'm sure have that in their comments as well. I want to congratulate all of the women that were so noted in this award. I specifically, because I work closely with these, want to congratulate my colleague, Ramela Markarian, as well as Helen McDonough, for their achievement at this particular luncheon. It was a really great luncheon. We also had a little fun going on in the community. Nordstrom's opened at the Americana, and we had a very lovely gala that I attended along with 15 other guests of Glendale Adventist to attend this particular event, and it was really quite lovely. And we had an opportunity to visit and to feel happy about what was in our community, to see Nicole Ritchie for all of 2 minutes, and to try on some great shoes. Boots too, right. The Glendale Latino Association held a wonderful reception on networking partners, and they held that in conjunction with Glendale Adventist. And I also want to give a special thank you to Officer Feely and Udi, who came and provided a canine demonstration not only just to my Live Well senior program, but also to Shoal Canyon Estates. We were all instrumental in helping them with their mailing, and then they came back and provided us with the highlight of a canine demonstration. It was really pretty fantastic in terms of the resources we have for safety in Glendale. Then during the middle of the month, I had the opportunity to attend at Mount St. Mary's a leaders luncheon with the Commission on the Status of Women. It was formed by the California Commission, and they brought together a group of leaders to discuss different topics that we might want to address in the summit that will take place in January, of which you'll all be invited to that. I again want to thank the students for their work with the ribbons. And I also want to make sure that our audience is aware of all the events that we have taking place this month, both with our Candlelight Vigil on the 17th at the YWCA and the Purple Ribbon events happening this Sunday at various locations. Any of the information that they would want to find out about these will be on our website, correct? Okay. And with that, I have a couple of other things, but I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Burns.
Thank you.
We'll go this way around the dais.
Thank you so much. Glendale Healthy Kids had a number of dinners, and I understand that each one of them was extremely successful. You attended and served at one, didn't you?
I did. I felt it in my calves walking up and down those stairs 150 times. It was well worth it for a great cause.
It really was. The ANC had an open house, and we all went, didn't we? Yes, we did. To meet the Woodbury president. And then the Women's Civic League had an update with regard to Essentia, which was extremely interesting. all the women of achievement really, really were wonderful. It was a great lunch and some beautiful classes. The firemen's lunch we all went to, and it was an excellent luncheon also. The Community Foundation is having their annual dinner on November the 7th, and of course the Candlelight Vigil, October 17th. I'm trying to, these are things that are coming along. Purple Ribbon, October 20, and then there is a dinner at the Elks Lodge on October 22nd, and that is going to be, the topic is helping veterans as they come out of the service. So October 22nd, we might want to think about one of us at least going to represent the commission. And the Patrons Fashion Show is coming up November the 1st. And the patrons are the group that raise funds for the students at Glendale Community College. And then the Women's Civic League is coming up the 24th, and Laura Friedman and Scott Ochoa will be the guest speakers at the Women's Civic League. And we all seem to be going to any number of events. In each case, I'm a member of the group, but I also represent the commission. So, and I think we all do the same. So thank you, Chair Miller.
Commissioner Devine?
I would like to suggest 2 agenda items for the next meeting. And since it is, we're celebrating Veterans Day and the vets, these both have to do with veterans. First is, I would like for the commission to consider a veterans grant to be given at the luncheon, the Jules Luncheon. This grant would be monetary, of course, and the military, it's for a woman who needs help integrating into society, which is exactly what you were talking about. And this money could be used for education, for rent, for gas, for childcare, for whatever she needs. We give a scholarship to young women, and I think with the emphasis now on helping the vets, female vets, I think this would be a great addition to our luncheon, and I'd like to see that agendized. And the second item that I'd like to propose is, I'm calling it VIP, and Mr. Duran, this would come directly on your shoulders, I'm afraid. It's a veterans internship program. In other words, we would recruit a vet and recommend her for an internship where she would learn a job skill and work with the city in one of the departments somewhere in the city. And then that would give her a skill that she can use to help herself after, when she's trying to integrate into our society. What you would have to do, and what staff I think would have to do, is look into, maybe talk to the city manager and see what the availability would be. Perhaps it would mean the commission would have to, I don't know what it would cost for an intern. I know we've had our ex officios intern in the city attorney's office. And I don't know if there's a cost to that, or, how that works. And any kind of fiscal impact that it would have on us, that perhaps the commission could talk about this VIP, Veterans Internship Program, if that's a possibility. Those 2 items for next month.
Given, if I may, Commissioner Devine, given that the chair sets the agenda, we have those written down, correct?
Right.
Yeah, we will definitely look into consideration, and it's duly noted. Please note that there's some financial information I'm going to want before I decide in terms of bringing
Exactly what
it
I'm
before the commission, but before I decide if it's going on the agenda. So just know that it's duly noted, and we will identify, and if it doesn't come back on the agenda, I'll provide reasons why.
Great, okay. Second, after those, The YWCA is presenting a luncheon called, it's entitled We Carry On. It's a fashion show for vets, and there's going to be Dress a Vet auction where you can actually buy an outfit for a vet. It's going to be held on November the 14th at noon. It's $75 before November 7th, and if you're interested, call the YW 242-4155, extension 221 for tickets. That's We Carry On. Bloomies is coming. I think hopefully every woman in the city knows this. On November 7th, I will be getting complimentary tickets, which are $25 gift certificates. So if you're interested, call me, email me, and I'll try to get you a ticket to the opening day, and you'll have $25 to spend and have fun with. The reason since I'm on the board of Glendale Healthy Kids, and as a matter of fact was chair of the Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and I'm so glad that was a success, and I've heard wonderful comments about it. Bloomies is donating funds to Glendale Healthy Kids, and in return, we will provide shoppers on that first day, and you will all get to spend $20. I already have mine spent. I already know what I'm buying. But anyway, if you're interested, contact Teresa. She'll take the information if you don't mind, or contact me, and I'll see what I can if I can get you a ticket.
Commissioner Devine, perhaps you could add all of the people who attended the Glendale Healthy Kids received a bag that they can take in.
That's exactly right, yes. And I have extra bags, so if somebody here didn't go to the to the Guess Who's Coming, I have extra bags. And you can take the bags. Those of you that went to the Glendale Healthy Kids Guess Who, remember, take your bag on that first day, and they will monogram them for you, put your name on them, and they're really kind of smart-looking bags. Mm-hmm. Don't forget, let's see, and I want to thank everybody, all the homeowners that gave their homes and offered their homes. The generosity was amazing. I want to thank all those who bought tickets and supported Glendale Healthy Kids. We couldn't do anything without all of you, so I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Don't forget that this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Be sure that you have gotten your mammograms. You know how to do your self-examination, and remember, early detection is the best protection. And that's why I have my pink ribbon on, and that's why Commissioner Kajayan is dressed in pink tonight, because she knew that it was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So let me see, is that it for me? And I believe that it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner DeWine. Student ex officio Sahakian?
First of all, I would like to also thank the volunteers that attended the ribbon cutting event at the Glendale Public Library on Sunday. It was a very big job, and without them it probably would have taken longer than usual, so thank you to them. And they were volunteers from Hoover of various grade levels, and most of them were freshmen, so it's great to see that they're actually taking a part in their community. Secondly, I participated in the Walktober event, which was presented by a student ambassador during the city council meeting that we attended on October 1st. And it was just great to see all of the students from the neighboring elementary and middle school that my high school is on the street. And it was actually very cool to see the members of the Glendale Police Department there as well. So it was a wonderful event. And then Relay for Life is coming up. It's this weekend, October 19th until the 20th. It is my first time attending, so I'm excited to reflect on that. And lastly, my high school is receiving packages, and if anyone wants to donate anything in specifics to veterans that are either serving outside of the country or even at a base in the country, especially pertaining to the fact that November is Veterans Month for the commission. So if anyone does have a specific package that they would like to donate, or if you have a loved one that is serving in the military, we could actually send the specific package to them. So information about that is available on our Hoover High School website. It is www.hooverhs.org. So if anyone is interested in that, you could definitely partake. Thank you.
Thank you. Student ex officio Mirza Hakim?
I would like to thank the commission for answering all the questions I had today, and I would like to thank the speakers that we had today from DOTTEV Outreach, I would like to inform the public that we have our October 17th, the Candlelight Vigil, and October 20th, the Purple Ribbon event. I will be at the Montrose Harvest Market from 9 to 2, or possibly going out to the Massage Envy or the Glendale Galleria locations. I will also encourage women who are listening to go get their mammograms done, because breast cancer is a vicious cancer, and you should really get early detection, because if you don't, there's no way to escape it other than that. And your body is the most important thing. And that is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Weissman?
Yes, well, this month, I kept notes this time. On September 21st, I went to the pancake breakfast. Crescenta Valley Town Council and CV High School sponsor that, and there was a lot of women power there. I sat down, and shortly thereafter, Glendale School Board President Nairi Nahabedian came and sat with her father, and then Carol Buss, our speaker, at the prior month, walked right in and she said, "Oh, hi," and she came down and sat with us. And then the former librarian from La Crescenta, Vicky Guagliardo, that doesn't live in the community anymore but comes back because she loves La Crescenta so much. And then Cheryl Davis, the president of the Crescenta Valley Town Council. So there was a lot of women power there. And then September 25th and 28th, I helped with Walk Bike Glendale do their bicycle and pedestrian count. And it's very interesting. On the weekday, not so many women, but there are women bicyclists out there. On Saturday, there were a lot of them. So they haven't compiled all the statistics, but it certainly seemed to me that there's an increasing number of pedestrians and bicyclists, and I think that speaks well for health in general. And then October 3rd was the State of the Schools breakfast, and I attended with our Glendale Education Social Justice Advocates table, but I did wear purple and the pins and spread the word about Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And actually, we all got Bloomingdale's bags too, so there will be a rush of educators in to get the monogram too. And then October 7th, last Monday night, was the Glendale Homeowners Coordinating Council meeting, where I again announced Domestic Violence Awareness Month to everyone. And yesterday was the second annual Armenian Korean Festival at Crescenta Valley High School. Is it the third year?
No, second year.
I think it's only the second. Well, anyway, it was a wonderful event, and again, many of the entertainers, the ethnic dancing, Korean and Armenian, and music, way more than half women performers. So there's a lot of women power around, and was happy to participate in all of those things. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Weissman.
September 11, I attended September breakfast with Armenian American Chamber of Commerce, and it was a successful network breakfast. On September 19, Commissioner Miller and Linda, we attended Armenian National Committee Glendale chapter, and it was meet and greet cocktail reception, and it was good networking reception too. And I attended also at Glendale Hilton Women Achiever Contributing Luncheon. At that day also we have a table. We presented all our brochures and flyers that day. At Glendale Council meeting on October 2nd, we presented a proclamation. I attended with Commissioner Miller and Commissioner Wiseman, and it was a good day for us. Attended on October 8th, groundbreaking event was at 812 South Maryland. It was very memorable day that day, and Mr. Jesse announced that this is our 46th park that we have the ground. So it was a good day for me too. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's been a very busy, we're gearing up for a busy fall, but it's been a very busy month. I think this again represents what it means when we have a full commission that's very active in the community, and all of your work, both in all the organizations you are a part of, as well as the being a part of the commission and raising our awareness is very much noted. Thank you.
Sure. If I may, I just wanted to let you know, Commissioner, or former Commissioner Tashian stopped by the office, and he wanted me to give his thanks to the commission for the plaque. So he just wanted me to say hi and say thank you. He was going to try to make it today, but I guess he wasn't able to. So I just wanted to.
And thank you for bringing that up. I actually did receive a message from our former Commissioner Vache Tashtian, who's now on the CDGB and doing a fine job, and he very much thanked us for that. I did, as we go into our closing here, I did just want to acknowledge that we're all wearing purple as well as pink, because October is a very busy month for raising awareness for women's issues, both domestic violence and breast cancer awareness. I invite the public to attend our events, both this week at the Candlelight Vigil on October 17th at the YWCA, as well as our Purple Ribbon events this weekend at various locations. I thought what we might do is just close with a poem that talks about calmness in the midst of chaos. In the midst of flurry, may you experience clarity. In the midst of storm, may you experience calm. In the midst of divided interest, may you know certainty. And in the many roads before us, may there always exist a certain choice. We support our women of domestic violence, and we hope that they are brave and seek help and know that they are not alone. And with that, I want to thank you for all your thoughts and identify that we are adjourned at 7:56 p.m.